Hello, hello, everyone. Hi, Bart.
Hi, Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne.
Hello, Bart.
Nice.
Hey, good to see you again.
Good. What's up? Hey, Jonathan.
Very good to see you.
How's the Jersey City boy?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm doing well.
Good.
Oh, hi, Barbara.
Hi.
I am going to tell you a little bit about Meadowlark Press, a little bit about our event, and introduce our readers for tonight. I am Linzi Garcia. I am the Meadowlark Press publicist and poetry editor for our little imprint, Meadowlark Poetry Press. We have 105 Meadowlark Reader, which is another great Meadowlark Press project. Meadowlark was established in 2014 by Tracy Millian Simmons, who is also here. You want to give a wave, Tracy? Hi, Tracy. Thanks for everything. And we specialize in books from the heartland. Based in Emporia, Kansas, Meadowlark is nourished by our open prairies, our enormous skies, community, family, and friends. We are rooted in this land, and that is why Meadowlark Press publishes primarily regional authors. Through the Birdy Poetry Prize and general open submissions, we have expanded our poetry to encompass poetry and poets from coast to coast, though we all seem to be nourished in the same way still. Meadowlark publishes memoir, poetry, short stories, novels, and children's books. This is the 5th year Meadowlark Press has offered the Birdy Poetry Prize. The prize is awarded to a judge-selected, full-length, previously unpublished poetry collection, and the winning author is awarded $1,000, publication, and 50 copies of their book. So tonight you'll be hearing from a couple of our winners and a couple of our finalists that we have published. We will have a reading followed by a Q&A at the end, and you will learn who our winner is between now and then. I just want to thank you all for being here. We wouldn't be doing this without you readers. Of course, us poets can get together and read each other poems, but really it takes quite the readership to keep a press going, especially a small press. So we really, really appreciate your support of Meadowlark Press and are happy to support you however we can too. So first up tonight, let's get into it. We have Jonathan Greenhause reading from his book, Cupping Our Palms. I'm going to introduce you to Jonathan. Cupping Our Palms is last year's Birdy Poetry Prize winning collection. Jonathan Greenhause has won the Ledbury Poetry Competition, Aesthetica Magazine's Creative Writing Award in Poetry, the Telluride Institute's Fisher Poetry Prize, and the Prism Review Poetry Prize. And his poems have appeared in America, December, New York Quarterly, Notre Dame Review, Poetry Ireland Review, the Poetry Society, the Rialto, Rhino, Subtropics, and the Times Literary Supplement. Jonathan lives in Jersey City with his wife and their 2 sons, all within a stone's throw of a local freight train. Please welcome Jonathan Greenhause.
Thank you, everyone. Big shout out to my family who is here today to listen to this reading. I will get right into it. My first poem is called My Father's Across the Atlantic. My father's across the Atlantic on the verge of death, and I'm stuck at a travel agency, frantically attempting to get back home to him. It's mid-May 2001 in Strasbourg, a few blocks from where the city's Jews were shepherded away on Valentine's Day in 1349. Some 900 of us footing the plague's bill for superstition and ill will. Imagine their thoughts while being steered out of Strasbourg, then subsequently chained within a wooden house, rotting in the rural Alsatian outskirts, where they were burnt alive. I too seek a means of escape, a saving grace flight back to Jersey. But this travel agent, beaming back at me, rejects my credit card, triumphantly announces, "Sorry, we don't accept American Express." As my father, sorry, that was more of a Russian accent. As my father resists in a hilltop hospital where I was born 2 decades earlier. I sprint between travel agency and subsidized student apartments, between scattered homes of friends formed in this 2-month stay. My red hot boot soles birthing blisters allergic to skin, my lungs burning as if that Jewish bonfire were still blazing. History fast forwarding to claim another one of its descendants, but I'm out of time. Flashback to frantic emails, my dad's stroke striking both sides of the cerebellum. For 8 hours, I'm off balance between Paris and Newark, with no way of knowing if I'll arrive too late. From this vantage point, this purgatory masquerading as the present, everything appears to be so insignificant. The seas towering waves flattened, our cities razed, our heritages and inheritances wiped out. So what will happen when I touch down at the airport, when I make contact with the ground, when I bow to kiss it, to properly bless this life, unaware of what awaits us? The second poem is Parabolic. We were never taught how to be parents. Our children thrust upon us like makeshift disasters, held out as awkwardly as possible. Their limbs jutting in all directions, and we, staring, awaited someone to mercifully take them back. No one ever takes them back. They scale us, disappointed by their view on top, as if trekking Mount Everest's rubbish-strewn trails, their lofty idols tainted by waste. Our majestic heights inflated, then strip-mined by successive absences at school plays, by our failure to listen to the saccharine notes of their pop music. Still, we carry on, clinging like grunts upon our secret armory of language, must pinpoint where we'll make the incision, hopeful our loosened words might graze them like butterflies briefly soaring, like the parabolic rise of stones flung towards the quivering slipshod wreck of our distant homes. No one will ever love them like we do. We lay ourselves down, sacrificial slabs of splintered wood connecting tracks as their trains rumble out of view. The next one is not a Holocaust poem. This is about happy thoughts, puppies and golden fields of wheat, and nothing's lurking in those fields, no concealed message threatening to break this peace and quiet, no serial killers stalking in the shadows, and even the shadows are comforting, their darkness offering forgetfulness and sleep. No startling illnesses hide here, no rising fevers incapable of being broken by antibiotics or by buckets of ice. And these buckets of ice are only employed to keep the champagne chilled or to engage the curiosity of the previously mentioned puppies. No fiancés will vanish, inexplicably stripped from us in a confusion of smoke and fire, leaving us to make sense of lives we must now live alone. No, this isn't that kind of poem. And in these pages, you'll meet the love of your life and live happily ever after, because this isn't a Holocaust poem. No matter how much you fear, it'll become one. Paranoid, the next line is certain to bring an improbable twist, because when you get there, it's just a box of puppies. And you smile as you lift each one and make believe this is really happening, just as you wished it to. Okay, we're about halfway through already. The next poem is The Perfect Dad. That's me, the perfect dad. I'll be loving without spoiling, generous without giving in, strict without scarring, loads of fun, yet responsible, caring but never smothering. I'll be that dad everyone wishes could be hers or his, not a caricature or phony, not secretly raging or too wound up to be authentic, not so perfect that I'm not potentially on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I'll play soccer and baseball, badminton, and checkers, take the kids to circuses stripped of their elephants, to films screened at graveyards, hike and mail postcards composed of clipped out letters with vague clues regarding our whereabouts. No one will be able to locate us while the kids are still minors. Their education, a series of misadventures, a misplaced sense of origin, a fleeting belief that childhood's magical, that their passionate dad must realize what he's doing, why I've slaughtered that cow in a stranger's pasture, and now they're digging their hands into its carcass, painting their faces red with the war paint of the dead, why a squadron of police are closing in, aiming directly at my chest. Okay, the next poem is Damn Our Short-Sightedness. I'm only semi-conscious, body sunk into couch cushions, a maritime wreck barely breaching the surface, as my 6-year-old starts sobbing from where he sits by his melted cup of ice cream, his tears, salt-tinged bullets splitting through my skin, as if by M16, as if that sadness being quantifiable, if firmly held, might plunge my soul into the molten belly of this earth. And I know I shouldn't laugh when he explains to me, between anguished gulps of air, that he's crying because he ate his ice cream too quickly, because he was afraid zombies would break down our double-bolted front door or climb through our third-floor windows, which, damn our short-sightedness, aren't boarded up or outfitted with crossbows. I summon all the courage I can as a thoughtful, caring parent and successfully avoid laughing at this for roughly a second or two before hopelessly succumbing to my insensitivity, my sense of humor winning out over the urge to comfort, even as I draw him towards me, wrap him in my arms, and resist the natural temptation to pretend to devour his brains. Okay, and this is the last poem. It is called, appropriately, Cupping Our Palms. And thank you everyone for coming tonight and for being able to see the new Birdy winner, which we're all excited to see. This is called Cupping Our Palms. Love is extending your cupped palms to cradle the blend of chewed up pizza and clementines in your 2.5-year-old's sudden vomit. Its warm acidity stinging your fingers, dripping down to the carpet below. Likely, he won't remember this later in life when you're proudly beaming at his wedding, or when he carefully guides you back to your hospital bed, your gown flapping open at the back. But some subconscious piece of him will vaguely recall, will extend his own cupped palms when the time comes to return the favor. Thank you, everyone.
Next up, we have Ruth Maus. Ruth, a native of Topeka, Kansas, has followed a love of learning around the world with languages, curiosity, and an appreciation for all beings a constant thread. A retired communications and fundraising executive, she represented Smith College at the annual Glasscock Intercollegiate Poetry Contest, where past contestants have included many famous poets. Her poems have appeared in Inscape, Recourt Review, Lighten Up Online, The Death Book Project, River City Poetry, and Orchards Poetry Journal. Her first poetry book, Valentine, was a finalist in the 2019 Meadowlark Birdy Poetry Prize. Her second book, Puzzled, was published by Meadowlark in 2022. She is currently seeking a publisher for her first novel, Lunatics and Acts of God. Ruth lives in Topeka, where she takes classes at Washburn University and writes poems, novels, and short stories when not teaching her cat amazing tricks with which to bore her friends.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Lindsay, for that introduction. It's an honor to read tonight. Thank you for asking me. So Valentine is this is the proof copy, so it has a little bar through it, but Valentine is a mixture of quite a few styles and tones of poetry, and I'm just going to touch lightly on some of those tonight. The first one is a seasonal poem. I thought it was sort of appropriate. It's called Solstice, even though we're not quite to the solstice yet. Solstice. When spring finally limps in, untangling winter's knots of leaden woolens and clotted theorems, I unwrap striates of rose and honeysuckle, perfume and pollen, the guileless timelessness of ripe sky. In the new grass, I barefoot a hornpipe dance with my old toes and cartwheel to the squeaks and thunders of croakers, cheeky for love. I share the honeyed nectar of clover buds with the bees, happy and busy. Lightning bugs wink, proliferating in the twilight like overconfident kisses inviting more. Then the baby bunnies disassemble, the wrens shutter whitewashed houses in the maple, and gradually a drumming on the glass of a soulless barometer as again we wither. This is called Each Life Could Be. Each life could be a movie, flexing and galumping at a deadening pace, and too arbitrary a length for the fat plot. We all want to be Princess Somebody or Hero Iron Person. but some of us found her at the escarpment or gas chambers or tar babies. Still, like circumspect butterflies in a prismatic field, we flicker on in our role, playing for the Cosmic Academy Award. Not so much a prize as a breathless, woundless intermission. This is called The Sun Worshippers. At the pool, the bronzed assemble, greased and horizontal, in a bake-off of burnt offerings to their temperamental god. Flesh and little snips of cloth held up by love and lycra. Sweat bakes to musk, a baste and a crust over muscles and muttony thighs. Brown to a blush, never a blister. Time to turn over on the concrete altar. Someday soon, a little cancer cloud will unfold like a serviette, like an origami of sepia doom, as the sacrifices and brute faith are consumed. But today, the righteousness of salt on a monster margarita sings psalm and hallelujah enough. And we go from worshiping sun in the day to worshiping fire at night. This is called to sit around fires. There is this lulling that incapacitates your ability for speech into a sweet spot of heart and hurt. Against the sizable distrust of dark, the orange-blue warms you with its writhing and spitting of spells to unknown totems. That you, a cosmic rookie, should receive this blessing after all your transgressions is to grasp at the balm that perhaps there will be a new day after all. And my last poem is called The Second Time Climbing Teotihuacan. And for those of you who don't know, that's a extremely large ancient pyramid in Mexico, outside of Mexico City. Hector drove for the first time in his daddy's car, black with diplomatic plates. She was 17 and knew everything. Magical Mystery Tour was her favorite song, capturing arcing energies and sensual alignments like an overexposed photograph. They climbed that big monster, holding hands for the steepness, until leaving everything that wasn't magic behind. At the top, the air was thin. There was timelessness, multiple epiphanies, lustful regenerations. They shared a cigarette high on the Mexican plateau. Hector no hablaba inglés, but he loved the Beatles. Some pinche chauffeur named Maximiliano, call me Max, drove her the second time in his crappy Renault. She was 27 and knew everything. Her husband came too, a faltering tourist of insufficient equipoise, seeking antiquities, controlled strangeness. He left no oddity of the Avenue of the Dead unphotographed, clicking the shutter, capturing nothing but obligation. They climbed that big monster on the writ large expanse, husband a galley oarsman heaving up the steps behind her. At the top, she took in the view, deathless as platinum, again and for the last time, then rasped down a Mexican cigarette like after a difficult coitus. That night, she had 4 Bloody Marys and threw up loudly in the middle of La Reforma. It was the altitude. The husband consumed countless pastries from the panaderia and threw up silently 4 times in the hotel bathroom. It was the bulimia. She didn't know anything about that until then. Thank you, everyone.
Our next poet is Brian Daldorph, author of the 2020 finalist collection, Kansas Poems. Brian teaches at the University of Kansas and Douglas County Jail. He edits Coal City Review. Please welcome Brian Daldorph.
So thank you all. I must say, I just love being a part of this Meadowlark family, because that's what it seems like to me. And they just keep on bringing in more new books. So I'd like to read 4 poems by my friend Antonio Sanchez Day today. This is a book that I've just finished editing with the great help of Tracy Simmons. It's called I've Been Fighting This War Within Myself. We lost Antonio in March 2021. He had a lot of health problems. I had known him for 7 or 8 years. I had met him in the jail writing class that I did for many years. I think some of you know that. And Antonio was in my class and really one of the best writers that I've met. And when he died in March a couple of years ago, he left behind quite a lot of writing, and his family asked me if I would edit this and put it together into a book. And this is the book that has just come out from Meadowlark, again with big thanks to Tracy for taking this on and doing such a good job with it. And I'm just really pleased that we can do this for Antonio. I know it would mean the world to him. The book begins with an epigraph written by Antonio. He says, "Of all my worldly possessions that I will leave behind when I expire, my written words in a book will cement my legacy as I take a chance and put my pain out there for the world to see." And then I'd like to read 3 of his poems that mean a lot to me. And I'm so pleased that we have these in a book so that other people will have the opportunity to read them too. Antonio was just a great friend and had a great wit, which we all really enjoyed. And he was a Native American storyteller and told some wonderful stories. And I'm glad that we've been able to put those into this book. So this is the way that Antonio told his life story. And this is called My Life Story, 13 Years. Here's a couple of numbers I'm going to throw at you. I was born on the 21st day of the 7th month, 74. That makes me 2 years shy of 40. I lost my brother when I was 7 years old and lost my sister when I was 8. In the 3rd grade, at the age of 9, I first smoked marijuana. It is said a person stops maturing mentally at whatever age they start smoking weed. So that makes me a 9-year-old emotionally. I was placed in Alcoholics Anonymous at 10. When I was 12 in the 6th grade, I watched my father die 2 days after meeting him for the first time, after he dedicated himself to 7 years of sobriety to be able to see me. At 13 years old, I began therapy. When I was 16, I was kicked out of Lawrence High and run away from home. I caught my first felony at 18. 4 years later, at 21, I received my second strike and was sentenced to 10 years. Another stated fact, an individual ceases to mature emotionally at the age he is incarcerated. So according to both theories, I am mentally 9 years old and emotionally 21. When I went through DOC in 96, I became number 63803. In 2006, 480 cheeseburgers later, cheeseburgers are served for lunch every Saturday in Kansas prisons, I was released. 2 months later, my mother passed away. Her one and only dying request was that I stop drinking. 7 years later, I have left that one promise broken, resulting in another 3-year bid. All that adds up to 13 years I'll have given the Department of Corrections when this is all over. One day, I hope to get it together. And then this was one of his later poems called Life. Life means various things to different people. Life means something different to me now than it did 5, 10, 15 years ago. Today, life to me is first and foremost a gift. This very day, this very moment as I write these words is a gift, a blessing given to me by my Creator. A gift that is to be cherished and treated with love and kindness. I view today as anew, so the wonder of life is always present. I create in my life with joy and abandon, without concern of what others think about my creation. Today I know I have the choice of creating hell in my life or creating beauty and peace. I wake up and I'm stunned by the beauty of the day, be it rain, snow, or sunshine. I drink the morning water, life itself, and give thanks. I view the given day as a challenge and an opportunity, a challenge to face whatever situations present themselves to me. Challenges are neither good nor bad, neither a curse nor blessing. They are only what we make of them, depending on what meaning we assign them. The assigned meaning does not alter the content of the situation. Our perception gives the assigned meaning. Today, I choose to view all challenges as an opportunity to be impeccable, to act to the very best of my ability upon whatever knowledge happens to be available to me at any given moment. To live this life with the knowledge that every moment, every act matters. To understand that to believe I have all the time in the world is not only foolish, but also takes away from the appreciation of life. Today, I savor life to the fullest and enjoy every moment of this precious time on this red road. Today, I don't need anything or want for nothing, but to be happy and to live an impeccable life. Needing and wanting to have something is just an expression of the egotistical desires of my mind's programming and has nothing to do with my spiritual path. Today, my life is expression of the beauty of my spirit and the Great Spirit. I was once told that life is nothing but a dream, and if I create my life with love, my dream will become a masterpiece of art. This is the power of life. The power of life is inside all of us. And then I'd just like to read the last poem in the book. Called Conviction. Eternal confliction wears on my soul, searching for peace. Among smiling faces and transparent truths, with love in my heart and blood on my hands and conviction in my heart. So that's Antonio's book. I'm so pleased that we have this. Please check it out. And then I'd just like to read one poem from my book that was a Birdy finalist. This is Kansas Poems. This is called Menninger's Topeka, May 2008. I think many of you will know about Menninger's and the really important work they did in psychiatric health. They've moved away from Topeka now, but they were in Topeka originally. Menninger's Topeka, May 2008. It's closed for business now, so if your mind's walls are cracked, your windows broken, if your foundation's slipping, and you need a new roof after the hailstorm, Menninger's can't help you anymore. Boarded up windows, the famous clock stopped, fences up to keep the bums out, the look and reek of decay. You'll have to find some other place for repair. Just like you, Menninger's is falling down. Thank you, and thanks again to Meadowlark and Tracy and Lindsay. And I just love being a part of all of this. Thank you.
Next up, we have our fourth Birdy Poet of the evening, Alison Hicks. Alison Hicks was awarded the 2021 Birdy Poetry Prize from Meadowlark Press for Knowing is a Branching Trail. Previous collections are You Who Took the Boat Out and Kiss, a chapbook, Falling Dreams, and a novella, Love, a Story of Images. Her work has appeared in Eclipse, Gargoyle, Permafrost, and Poet Lore. She was named a finalist for the 2021 Beulah Rose Prize from Smartish Pace and nominated for a Pushcart Prize by Green Hills Literary Lantern and Quartet Journal. She is the founder of Greater Philadelphia Wordshop Studio, which offers community-based writing workshops in southeastern Pennsylvania.
I'm really thrilled to be here, to be a part of this. I always enjoy, I'm eager to hear the 2023 Birdy winner. So I wasn't able to be here in person last year. This is really great. And this cover, again, this is the proof copy, which is really good for readings. You know, you don't have to spoil a new one. But I'm going to read the title poem, and it makes reference to these fossils here, Ediacarans. And I'll let the poem speak about it, but I will say that Tracy and I had really a great time with this cover. I had no idea what I wanted on the cover, and Tracy found this photo, and we did all sorts of cool things with it. I was very pleased. Okay. Knowing is a branching trail that disappears into variety. It is hard to find something you have not first imagined. Only a small portion of the world is known with accuracy, Darwin wrote. Ediacarans went extinct 541 million years ago. Their tracks can be seen at Mistaken Point, Newfoundland. They look like a series of parentheses laid inside each other. Soft-bodied, mouth and anusless, somehow they began to crawl, pushing disc-like bodies forward. They were hunting or escaping a predator. We don't know. We're not even sure they were animals. They could have been plants, fungi, or colonies of single-celled organisms. It could have been an accident, extending bodies into the stream, watched from their perch, like anemones pried from their rocks, who creep across sand to a hard surface. They might have stretched suction cup feet across a gelatin of bacterial mats, working to feel their way back. This is Landscape with Citrus. The winter she was thirsty, oranges cut paste in her mouth, digging fingernails into the rind, peeling slices from the bitter white, sucking juice. It rained and it snowed and rained again. The oil left fragrance on her fingers. She was still thirsty. Tides were higher, waves chipped at the land, fruit rotted on the tree. She drank water, but it didn't penetrate. She was thirsty, and there were no oranges. The oryx. I had been kept in darkness, had not eaten in some days. When they brought me out into the hall, men were feeding the blaze on the floor. It hurt my eyes. I squinted, turned away. They gave me the drink. I climbed up, lay on my back on the frame they had constructed. Light traveled, unfolding over stone. I reached my hand to meet the wall and waited. They showed themselves first as tremors barely detectable below my fingers, growing as they came on until the sound of their hooves was a roar. I stretched to brush their flanks, and as they passed, they became visible to me, and I marked them as they came on, their pendant bellies, tapered horns, their noses, knobby legs. They ran through the rock. To make others see, I marked them. And this refers to the cave paintings in Lascaux, France. This is kind of my imaginative reconstruction of how they might have come about. And this is kind of I think of this as a sister poem. Yellowbird. I want to believe in a world beneath this one. The bird that flies across the lawn is a messenger, that if I follow her in my mind, I will come to a door. She will let me through to the underside of the world. I will look at my life from below, my husband and son walking, the bottom of their shoes. Other times I think, there is no door, nothing below. The bird flying bent on her own purposes, her color the outcome of natural selection. Nothing mystical, just the world working itself out. Hummingbirds are squeaking, dive bombing the feeder. I too, sitting right side up in this world. The bird keeps coming back, the bird speaking through me. Untitled. The sea is a room without walls. It spills, falling over land. Land shears away into the sea. Rooms echo with spills and falling walls. Walls are powerless in the war of land and water. Swells uproot trees, sweep cars, shopping carts, diamond necklaces out to sea. Rooms of plastic ingots drifting down. The sea has room, gathering spoils from falling lands. I'll do this. It's North Pacific. 1. When trapped under ropes or suspended in ice, seawater may seep through imperfections. When the netting wears off, its pattern may remain. 2. Fishermen's floats blown from sake bottles turn in the North Pacific, Japan to Alaska to California, and back across the Pacific. 3. Breaking free on storms or tides, some wash up on the beaches of Taiwan, Canada, and the Northwest US. They have been found in coral reefs on the windward side of Guam. A few are stuck in the Arctic snowpack. It is believed that floats washing up in Alaska has spent 7 to 10 years in the gyre, and most have been afloat longer than that. 4. The ones my mother hung in the window of our old apartment were replicas, most likely from Cost Plus, decanted sea colors of early childhood, blue and green currents of family life, bubbles and streaks in uneven glass. All right, and I just do one last one. This is practice. Practice, the small precision, word match to moment, finger placed squarely on the string, the pitch containing not only itself, but itself halved, and that halved, and again. Ratios that move the small bones of the ear translate resonance to the brain. Lives of sloppy shifts, wrong notes, mistakes in tonality. Late at night in the living room, try to make up for these in your notebook, on the instrument, with a partner, practice harmony, or necessary dissonance, half step, leading tones. Thank you.
We are about to the champagne pop moment of the evening. But before we do that, I know I'm stringing you along. I would like to thank everybody who submitted to the Birdy Poetry Prize and let you know about our semi-finalists and finalists. Da, 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 da. Here is our list of semi-finalists for 2023. Congratulations to Boyd Bauman, Anna Caballero, Robert Cooperman, Gary Finke, Barbara Ford, Jacob Friesenhahn, Beth Goley, Amanda Hayden, George Looney, Jane Medved, Catherine Paulson, and Ann Wallace. Please join me in congratulating all of our semifinalists. Revving it up even more, our finalists for the 2023 Birdy Poetry Prize are Catherine Jordan of Berkeley, California with Washing the Body, Mary Mercier of Madison, Wisconsin with 5 reports of fugitive dust, and Jake Young from Santa Cruz, California with Blessings. Please join me in congratulating them as well. Do any of you finalists or semifinalists happen to be here tonight?
I'm here.
Hello. So
Yes.
good to see you, Catherine.
Thank you. This is wonderful. Loving this opportunity to hear everyone reading from past books and just seeing the community that you all have built.
Well, thank you. Any other folks on that finalist? Oh, Mary. Hi, Mary. Congratulations. It is a joy to be around such fine poets and poetry. I'll tell you that. So my next surprise for you is letting you know who our 2023 Birdy Poetry Prize judge was. I would like to say that this poet, reader, and teacher is doing amazing things for Kansas. And we're very honored to have her be our judge for this year. She is the author of 2 full-length collections, most recently Green, published by Riot in Your Throat in 2021. And her poems have appeared in Plowshares, Pleiades, Had, Swim, and Elsewhere. She teaches high school English in Lawrence, Kansas, where she and her husband live with their dogs. Please welcome our judge, Melissa Fite Johnson.
Yay. Hi, everybody. I can't tell you what an honor this is. And this has been the most special night. And I can't believe that I just get to be here and be part of it. Thank you so much. This is just beautiful. So the winning book is called Turkey Vulture, which we can all agree is a fantastic title. And I adored this book. I loved so many of the manuscripts I read. So like those of you who were finalists, semifinalists, my goodness, it was a pleasure to read all of these. But man, the whole time I was reading this one, I was like, this feels like it's already a book. Like how do I get to be deciding that it becomes one? That's amazing. And so here's what I wrote about it. At first, the poems in Turkey Vulture seem like a portal to another place and time, a small town, a lifetime ago. As Heraclitus asserts in one of the book's epigraphs, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Yet in this beautiful collection, the author reminds us that there's no veil between the past and the present. We'll never escape where we came from, the wrinkled barbed wire, the cow grass and cotton, but we shouldn't want to. The author doesn't romanticize the past, but he understands its significance. The river, it's always there. The poem only turns with time. It's a paradox. In one sense, we aren't who we were in our youth, but in another, we absolutely are. We are every version of ourselves we've ever been and ever will be. And I am so pleased to read his bio and reveal who he is. So it's Zachary Lundgren. Yay! Was born in California and received his MFA in poetry from the University of South Florida. He has been published in several literary magazines and reviews, including the Columbia Review, the Wisconsin Review, Clockhouse, Beecher's Magazine, and the Louisville Review. He received his PhD in rhetoric and composition from East Carolina University and now resides in Denver, Colorado. Yay! Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Zach. And thank you so much, Melissa. Zach, we would love it if you wanted to take the stage and read from your upcoming book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, everybody, of course. And Melissa, thank you so much for that really thoughtful introduction. That means so much. And yeah, it just means a lot being here and being honored by this community. Yeah, just being a part of this family is really cool. Yeah, so I'll read a couple of poems if you all don't mind. We'll see. I've got a few from the book, and then I was also going to read a couple new ones as well, if that's okay. Then aren't actually in the book, but yeah, I'd also like to just dedicate this reading in this book to my poetry professor Jay Hopler, who passed away last year due to cancer. But I would say the best poet I've ever met, without a doubt. So definitely check his 3 books out. Amazing writer, amazing teacher. He really helped me, make this book happen. So yeah, so cool. All right, let's jump into it. So the first one I will read is the first one from the book, as it would. So it's called Home. There's deer blood dripping on the concrete floor in Lawson's barn from the mother deer I killed with my sister's car. So we just hung her up in the barn from the gable roof on the first night of summer. To save her, we dressed her right there and cut from pelvic to breastbone down. And something fell to the concrete floor. A heart, I thought? No, it was a fetus. Fell to the concrete floor, and I saw that I'd killed not just 1, but 2 that summer night. And I wondered which is worse, taking both mother and child or leaving just 1 to that night, the first of the summer. So yeah, sorry, these poems are a little not super uplifting. Cool. So the second one's called Youth. Near the church, there's a winter cornfield and a fox. He's caught in the wire fence, gnawing at its own leg, a slight bonfire. God, I wanted to walk, but sat down beneath that aching oak, losing its mind in green and those all quiet little flowers. I did it. That's what she said when she called, and her voice, it was just bare feet beneath gravel like running. I wonder if he would have had my mouth. So let's see. So this next one is also pretty short, but I do like the poems where the title is just as much a part of the poem, as the resulting poem itself. So this one's called A Dead Deer on the Side of the Road with a Get Well Soon balloon tied to its leg. We buried Johnny on Christmas Eve. I sat in the front pew, cotton-mouthed with a new haircut. I watched his father sit straight as a lie. The taste of prayer against my tongue, just a wooden sword. Oh, the black night rides again. So, yeah, so this one's a little bit of a newer one. It's not in the Turkey Vulture collection, but it's called Heart Killer. 1. She takes a drink. She takes a drink like someone takes a stone out of a river. Her parents called her from Cleveland to tell her that her brother died, broken by bourbon and endocarditis. I watched her, and I watched her get cold. She takes a drink because no one is looking for God anymore, digging holes next to airplanes. Nothing is ever found here. 2. At her apartment, she plays a song on the stereo. Heart killer, sweet, sweet heart killer. Outside, the Bay night smiles through Florida's closed mouth, black against her tan skin. Hands and keys are lost. These hallways are so loud with this humidity. We don't really talk about Cleveland. Just hands as lips sing, undressing her in a city wild. The laughter is stuck in her teeth like cavities. 3. I would drive back to her apartment, but palm trees and a flat tire and her naked shoulders behind a locked door. I wanted her to be a song I already knew, but she rewrote me. Wine is her heart backwards. That winter her brother died, the babe did not give a shit. Kick, fight, collapse. Wild ivy and cement fills over these neighborhoods like a hand over your mouth. 4. Everything she's not. Existential teeth, bleached, blue-eyed safety, a good night's sleep. Cool. So I think I've got 2 to 3 more, if that's okay. How are we doing on time?
You go for it.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. This next one is also kind of a recent poem. The title will probably explain it. It's somewhere we've probably all been. It's called Reading Faulkner with a Hangover. Why does this world always have to be so difficult? Another smoky and still morning. Dragonflies chew on fat over the Tar River as I watch ponytailed girls walk to class, passing pirate bars in our county prison. Every morning, I feel as though I've slept through the war and now I'm too old for glory and music and the blonde hair crowning my eyes. It's brown now and it's rows of corn left to die in the winter. Why do I carve myself at the ribs to see things I'll never really have? I read that young mothers used to blacken their breasts with soot to urge newborns past breastfeeding. Oh, here she comes now, Temple. When, if ever, will I be brave enough to blacken myself? So yeah, just got a few more. This next one is called Everyone is Going to Heaven. A little bit more optimistic than the last few. Why will we never have another Jesus? Why can't I just find him buckling a child into a car seat or walking a tiny trinity of dogs down the beach or selling newspapers off the intersection in a dirty shirt while love bugs kill themselves on the cross in my windshield? Is it to ensure we're doomed to failure? The eternal itch that whispers we've done something wrong? If unbaptized children do not meet the requirements of heaven, then what is the point of heaven? My friend, he never knew his daughter. She didn't tell him about it. He found out from a phone call. Then he wept like Jesus, like each and every bird in the sky. Small, this can all look really incredibly small. Once, waiting in line for a movie, he told me he heard a little girl's laughter and wondered if she would have laughed like that. Cool. So just got just two more. This next one goes out to my niece Lily, who's awesome. It's called Country. God damn it. We sure do love all of this. Soft desk, hard boots, beer, patriotic by its price. Look, the firecrackers are killing themselves over the neighbor's lawn. The radio fucks with our heads and makes us all children again. The glass jar's in the wash, but you'll drink from it. I swore down at Denison Creek to the rain and the salamanders that this would be the last time I'd be unhappy. Now this little red-haired girl is sitting on the chair and singing old cowboy songs. Didn't she just used to love this before? But life got complicated. It's like dawn in the pine trees. You're smart now. You've got money, you've got insurance and words, both historic and made like architecture. That's a pseudonym for being dead. Guess I'll walk into the woods and pray, but only after cutting off my hands and swallowing my useless tongue. Cool. And my last one is, again, like I mentioned before, dedicated to my professor, Jay Hopler. It's called God is Not a Poet. He told us he would write a poem about a rooster found bloodied and broken, half dead on his freshly painted front porch. But instead, he used the rest of his life writing about the rain and all of its sad, pornographic history. The day your father dies, he told me, it just stays so damn hot outside. Mosquitoes in the grass and climbing almond vine, they try to waltz together. When the grass and almond vine overgrow my heart, maybe someday I won't remember the rooster or the rain. We were made as hunters, but what is the quarry we're looking for? Language and dusk. This is why we crucify and then learn to worship even the smallest of our baby teeth. Thank you.
What a reading, Zach. What a debut. My gosh. And congratulations again, Zach. It's so great to have you join the Meadowlark family.
Awesome being here. So much.
Well, folks, that concludes our reading portion. We are going to be around for a little bit longer if you would like to open the floor for a Q&A session with each other, with our authors, with Tracy.
I would like to thank Linzi for putting together another awesome Birdy event. I can't believe we're on number 5.
Right? Thank you. Thanks for letting me do this. It's a dream
For
job.
letting you
Thank
do
you,
this.
Linzi.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Anne says, what were the initial reactions when you say, I'm a poet? And that goes out to all poets out there.
Oh, I'll give a stab. Because I had this recently, a version of it anyway, because I had an operation on my thumb joint. And when I went to therapy, which I got one more week left, the hand therapist, who's very, very good, but she said, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a writer, And then she said, a writer? Oh, I've never had one of those. And then she said, so what do you write? So I said, well, mostly poetry. And she says, oh, I don't like that. So that was that. But she is a really great therapist, and we have very interesting conversations. So,
Did that surprise you? Were you trying to convince her that, oh, you could?
No, I could have pegged this one. Sometimes it's good when people do have that and try to convince people, but I'm usually don't. I'm not very good at that, I don't think.
Bruce asks Zach, why did you pick Turkey Vulture as the title?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just such a widespread bird, of course, coast to coast, and it's very it just feels iconic. And also, in many ways, like poetry, I'd say it's not loved. It's not the blue jay or the robin, but it's so functional. It's so important as well. Who can't, that image of the big wings in the sky and everything. It's I don't know, it's just kind of very iconic to me.
Bart asks you, Zach, besides Jay Hopler, other influences?
Oh, definitely. Carolyn Forche, for sure, is amazing. But I'd say my favorite poet of all time is Frank Stanford, from Arkansas. He's, if you all aren't familiar with his work, definitely check it out. He's amazing. Yeah, so Frank Stanford, Carolyn Forche, Katherine Johnson as well is really great as well. But yeah, Tony Hoagland, I just read his most recent book, actually, that he wrote before he passed away, sadly, as well. Turn Up the Ocean, it was called. Definitely recommend that as well. He definitely has such a unique voice in American poetry. He's awesome. Bart, your mention of William Stafford, also a huge influence as well.
I could
Yeah,
see
thank you for pointing that out. He's he's an amazing poet as well.
I have a response to the original question about when did we know we were poets, and more specifically Alison's comment about her therapist saying she didn't like poetry. When someone says to me, well, and they're trying to be polite, well, I don't really care for poetry. I know they first of all had a bad experience at some point in their life, probably in school, and it was kind of crammed down their throats. But I always say, well, poetry is a lot like music. There's Beethoven and there's Bad Bunny and there's everything in between. And that's kind of the way I look at it. You can do anything in poetry, and somewhere you're going to find something that you like. If you want.
My wife is a stand-up comic, and she gets that like, oh, we're gonna go see comedy tonight, and it's like it doesn't matter what it is for a lot of people who want to see a comedy show, like stand-up comics. But I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of stand-up comedy, and it's the same thing with poetry. I mean, there's everything.
You know, honestly, I think it's one of the things I'm proudest of is like, I think I'm really good at convincing high school students to give poetry a try. And I really like how I do it. I have a whole presentation called Poetry and Professional Wrestling. And it's about how my husband's a big pro wrestling fan. And I thought it was stupid when I first met him. And he was like, have you ever watched it? And I had to admit, like, no, I have not. And I ended up really loving it. And so like that, I think kind of shows them like, you know, give it a chance. You probably actually haven't experienced much poetry. You just like think it's people wearing berets and rhyming, and it's like not true at all. And yeah, and like most of them really like contemporary poems. They're like, oh, it's just like stories, you know, and I like stories. So anyway, but yeah, it's taught often like it's a riddle to be solved and there's one meaning and you're wrong if you don't get that meaning. It's not taught to be enjoyed like music or like movies or like most art forms where you can just like let it wash over you. I even tell them, I'm like, it's okay if you don't even like get it. I don't get every poem I read. There's pleasure in not understanding sometimes. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
Doesn't Billy Collins have that great poem, right? Where it's
like, Introduction to Poetry.
Poetry, and it's like, you know, you want to tie it down and try to beat the meaning out of it or something like that.
Torture a confession out of it. Yeah,
exactly.
That same question, the very first poem I wrote as poet laureate for the college I teach at, it was about 800 people, and one was a poetry teacher. Everybody else is from every other discipline, president, everything else. And so I was very nervous, but I wrote something about losing my dad in 2020 and, kind of the underlying grief of everything coming back from COVID. And afterwards, a woman came up from the president's office. And she came up, she goes, I don't think I really like poetry. She's like, but I really like that. It made me like so thrilled because I thought this power, what an amazing opportunity I have to introduce so many people to poetry who think maybe they don't like it or indifferent, and find something they connect to. So that's, I think, one of the greatest just privileges of being able to do it.
Oh, well, folks, this has been an absolute joy. I appreciate everything that you all do for your literary communities, as readers, as writers, as thinkers, as artists. Thank you for joining us all tonight. Oh my gosh, what a joy. Congratulations, Zach. Congratulations to our finalists and semi-finalists. And Tracy, thanks so much for making this Birdy Poetry Prize possible. I hope to see you again next year. And please visit the Meadowlark website if you would like to learn more about our poets and our books. So thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Everyone,
My
congrats.
pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.